Welcome back to another episode of the Knowledge Bomb. My name is Nick Fowler. In this episode, we're going to talk about how I prepare athletes mentally to compete. So I talk a lot about science, physiology, right? The actual science around training, nutrition, recovery, preparation, all these things. A lot of times, the mental resiliency or the mental preparation, the mental training is the missing link. The whole adage of train the mind and the body will follow is pretty accurate. And so I just want to talk a little bit about how I prepare an athlete mentally for game day, right, for competition, and how I cultivate that. So what I do as a coach to help develop an athlete, right, when we're talking about developing an intelligent athlete, is really just reminders of what the individual needs to execute on their own, right? I'm not going to make any mental mindset changes for the individual. I'm purely there as just a reminder, right, to kind of redirect either a thought process or an action. I believe that that's a skill that falls outside of the science, right? It's really an art to understanding the human side of an athlete. This is something that is potentially different for each and every athlete. I generally use similar tools, but in different ways to produce the changes that I want. So just like anything as a coach, I observe. And one of the first steps to really anything or establishing a training protocol is to assess, observe, test. Now, observing and testing someone's mental capacity, right, or where they're standing or what limiters they have when it comes to their mindset is a little more difficult, right? It's not as cut and dry as seeing numbers. And so really looking at how someone responds to a workout is really, really important. In general, you can look at the two extremes. You can see someone who, mentally can't ease up, right? Who has to go 100% all the time. And so that conversation is very different than the person who can't dig deep. So let's take that first person where this individual can't slow training down because they either believe or they feel like going hard is what they need to do. So that's a different conversation altogether than the person who you can't get to push hard. The person that you can't get to push hard presents a whole different problem, right? Digging into why is really important. And really, all this starts with a conversation around goals, training history, what scares them. And really, without building that trust and that personal relationship, it's going to be really, really hard to truly understand what that person needs to work on. There's obviously a lot we can talk about, and every individual is its own unique experiment in a way. One of the things that holds true pretty much with everybody that I believe is what we say, how we act, our expressions translate into what we believe. And that's something that you can see common threads pretty much through every sport, right? Confidence builds success. And so even if you're not confident, right, and you have doubt, one of the easiest things to do is act as if. Example is during a workout, if you're hurting, force yourself to smile, right? Force yourself to say something good. Instead of, man, I'm dying, just say, wow, this is great. I am persevering, right? This is a great way for that self-talk to actualize into your mindset. So if you come train on site with me, one of the things that you'll hear me say a lot of times is breathe. And that's as much mechanically to remind someone to breathe, but it's also almost a reminder to become present. It's really hard to think about what you're doing, what you're not doing, where you're failing, where you're succeeding if you're focusing on your breathing. So a lot of you guys might not know that, but if I'm telling you to breathe, it's kind of to bring you back and to get centered. That's one cue you can use. The other cue is to smile, right? So if there's this look of pain, this look of anguish, just by forcing yourself to smile, that will translate. A simple third way to look at this is your post thought process in training, pretty much in anything that goes on, right? Evaluating what's happened, but through a different lens, right? Rather than looking at something that didn't occur, look at it as an opportunity for it to be able to occur in the future. A good example is that if you could have rode faster, if your pace on something could have been faster or dialed in, don't look at that as a failure, like a shortcoming. Instead, look at it as an opportunity next time you get in the gym and next time you go attack that one thing, that's an opportunity to improve. And when we think about athlete development, it's as much physical as it is mental. And so making sure that we take the time to reflect on those mental challenges and those mental successes and be able to take those learnings into future opportunities is really the key to all this. I view my role as a coach primarily in 3 different aspects, right? One is to help that athlete stay present and bring them back to being in the present, whether it's in training or what's going on in their life. The second is to build confidence. Show them that they can succeed despite adversity. The third and final one is to give some perspective. A lot of times when we're training, when we're in our own life, when we're, the dust hasn't settled around us, having just an outside perspective on the bigger picture can make all the difference in the world. So a lot of times it's just reminding that person, hey, the struggles in your life has actually created all those unique opportunities that has led to your successes.